Hey guys, I'm Chris Buck and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks, and this week we're taking a look at simultaneously one of my most loved and easily one of my most hated guitar effects. We're of course talking about the wah-wah pedal. Now, before we dig into today's video, I just wanted to say that the song that you've just been listening to, Warm Love, is taken from my band, Cardinal, our debut EP, which, funnily enough, is released today. Now, honestly, we've been absolutely blown away by the response to the first two singles. Tell Me How It Feels in particular, of course, coming straight to the top of the rock charts. We're incredibly excited to release our first body of work. Now, to celebrate this, I'm going to make the backing track from Warm Love, from the solo section of Warm Love, or a condensed version of it at the very least, coming in at about a minute long, available to download free of charge through my website. You guys seem to get a massive kick out of the Cardinal Black solo challenge that we ran in May, and thus introducing the Cardinal Black Jam. Much the same as before, competition entries will be open for a fortnight, and the winner will not only win the wah pedal that I used on the studio version of Warm Love, my Dunlop /SC95 wah pedal, but a whole host of Cardinal Black goodies, music, t-shirts, signed prints, etc, etc. As I said, entries are open for a fortnight, and I'm going to state all of the details for the competition down in the description box of this video. Really excited to see your entries. So why do I have this love-hate relationship with the wah pedal? After all, the man whose name is on the signature wah pedal that I use, a huge hero of mine, is responsible for some of the most iconic wah pedal moments of all time, namely the solo in Sweet Child of Mine. Growing up as a young guitar player, I was fascinated by the solo in Cream's White Room, of course the obvious example as well being Jimi Hendrix's Voodoo Child, and for the longest time I wanted a pedal that would make that noise. Subsequently, it was actually one of the first pedals I ever bought, was the standard Dunlop Crybaby wah-wah pedal, which is kind of when the problem started. Man, did I overuse it. Looking back, I'm not entirely sure whether it's because I loved the sound of it so much, or more likely I was subconsciously using it as a bit of a crutch in moments where I wasn't entirely sure or confident in what I was about to play. And it wasn't actually until I listened back to a soundboard recording from a gig of one of my old bands I came to realise quite how heavily, overly reliant I had become on using a wah pedal for guitar solos. Now, as if to prove this point, I was flicking through old videos recently and came across a video of my first kind of proper band, the Tom Hollister Trio. If you've been following Cardinal Black, you'll probably recognise the other two members of this band. I found a clip from our EP launch back in 2010. It's the first track of the gig, it was the first track on the EP, and lo and behold, for the first guitar solo of the night, over to the wah pedal I go. It's not so much that it sounded bad or it didn't sound good, it was just that it was entirely unnecessary, which was very much indicative of my use of the wah pedal around this time. In some shape or form, pretty much every pedal board I put together for a very long time had a wah pedal on it. Often it was the first pedal on the board, not only literally in terms of the signal chain, but in terms of my thought process. And it's only relatively recently that I made a very conscious decision not to include one on my board. We all know the players who very frequently get touted as examples of overuse or over-reliance on a wah pedal, and as great as those players are, I was kind of keen not to see my name mentioned in the same breath, at least in regard to over-reliance on one effect. So, more recently, I made a very conscious decision not to include a wah pedal on my board and see what it did for my playing, see if it put me somewhere else creatively where I didn't kind of use it as a crutch, I guess, when I wasn't so sure as to what to play. And honestly, I think I've improved exponentially in the period where I haven't kind of default included one on my board. As I said, I've started including one, if not on my board, but off to the side of my board in more recent months, just to see if I can trust myself. And if you saw a recent video I did breaking down the guitar tone on a Cardinal Black track called Jump In, you'll see that almost kind of set the precedent of where I want to be in regard to my use of a wah pedal. Not so much as a typical kind of wacka wacka effect or condiment, I guess, in a guitar solo, so much as using it as a textural, almost envelope filter. I guess the rule of thumb has to be that it has to serve the song, has to work within the context of the band, and not just be something I'm relying on because I'm devoid of ideas. Hopefully that is very much the case. So have I kept my promise to be more selective in my use of the wah pedal? Maybe, kinda, sorta, I guess. I mean, funnily enough, a track like Warm Love, as you heard at the start of this video, is a prime example of a guitar solo that categorically wouldn't have had a wah pedal on it had I not been using one in rehearsal for Jump In. So I guess in that respect, you could argue the case that, no, I haven't learnt my lesson. But the only reason I really allowed myself to use that on the guitar solo, on the EP version of the song, was not only that it's the last track on the EP and it fades out, so it kind of gives me a little bit more creative license to go mad, but I felt it worked within the context of the song, and we'd rehearsed it so much at that point with a wah pedal that it felt a little bit alien to hear it without one. But as I said, it very much is testament to the fact that my kind of reservations about the wah pedal, at least in terms of my own usage, is relatively well-founded. In a 4-track EP, 50% of those tracks now have wah pedal on it since I started using one a few months ago. Hopefully the difference being the moments when I do dig one out, it is very much a case of serving the song and not using one just because I'm devoid of ideas. Hopefully. I'm going to play you out now using, funnily enough, one of my favourite variants of the wah pedal, the auto wah, which is principally the same effect, but instead of being controlled by a pedal to sweep through that EQ range, it's controlled by the volume of the input signal, i.e. how hard or soft you play. But I guess if there is a take-home message from today's video, it's that it is healthy every now and then to step outside your comfort zone. Use a different guitar, use a different amp, use a different pedal, use anything different that you feel may inspire you to get something out of you creatively that is outside your norm. We're all guilty of relying on things probably more than we should do, and for me, a wah pedal very much felt into that category, and I feel that having come back to it with fresh ears and fresh eyes, further on down the line, I'm a little bit more capable of using it, not so much just because I'm short on ideas, but using it in the right moments when it really is to the benefit of the track. As ever, I'm Chris Buck. Thank you very much for watching Friday Fretworks. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already, and I shall see you next week for another episode. Cheers guys, take care, I'll see you soon.